Conversations with Niki is brought to you by studyapps.co.za, South Africa's leading education app for tablets. And I would like to welcome you to Conversations with Niki Seberini here. As always, it's wonderful to be with you. This is the show where we keep you entertained, informed, and hopefully inspired. I'd like to welcome our syndication partner listeners, Eldo's FM, Chai FM, Kawi FM, West Coast FM, MC 90.3 FM in Plettenberg Bay, Nisen FM, Wild Coast FM, and Bay FM. Thanks for all the tweets, thanks for all the emails. It is fantastic to hear from you as always. And today is going to be a very interesting show because it is so relevant to what we're experiencing today. It's about the present, it's about the future, and the impact that it is having on our everyday lives. I'm talking about social media as part of the discussion. I don't know how much you know about social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and. I mean, do you use it regularly? And if you do use it, are you using it socially? Are you using it for business like LinkedIn? How are you using it? Well, one thing we can say for sure, and that is that social media is changing our world. It is changing the way we communicate, the way we socialize, the way we project ourselves, the way we do business, and possibly even the way we are going to be changing the world. Now, something came onto my radar screen just a few weeks ago, and I was really completely blown away by this whole concept, which has gained momentum and such popularity in social media and using this platform. And it all started off with NekNominations. I mean, have you heard of NekNominations? I had not. Apparently, it's a game, I believe, that seems to have originated in Australia. It's a drinking game. So a person is filmed downing their drink in one go, and then what they do is they nominate others to do the same thing on camera. And usually they nominate people in other countries. And I can imagine that when it started off, it was a whole lot of fun. But unfortunately, it spiraled out of control because where is the limit? Who is the limit? Are we going to try and outdo the next person? Several people, unfortunately, have been reported to have lost their lives after taking part in this challenge and after consuming dangerous levels of alcohol. I mean, the BBC social media page said that sharing videos of the internet drinking game would be discontinued because of the death of a number of people. An Irish teenager, 19, a 20-year-old rugby player, and this is after downing so much alcohol within a few days. They were dead. So we're going to be talking about NekNominations. We're going to be talking about NekNominations a la South African style, and we're going to be talking about giving, that which we as human beings in this world want to do. Why do we do it? And how can we do it effectively? And that really is what this show is all about. So I have some fantastic guests. We have our resident clinical psychologist, Leonard Carr, in the studio all the way back from San Francisco. Hi, Leonard. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Niki. Thanks for inviting me.
We have also Arthur Goldstuck, who I'll be talking to in a moment, MD of WorldwideWorx. We've got some guys who have taken part in the NekNominations in South Africa. And we've actually got the man who turned NekNominations around completely here in South Africa, Brent Lindeque, and we'll be talking to Brent. Brent, are you there?
I am here.
Hi, Brent.
Good to see you, Niki.
Great to chat. I know you're not feeling well, so we really appreciate your time. Thanks, Brent.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Okay, so Leonard, we're going to start off with you. I have to ask this question. This NekNomination game, originating in Australia, going all over the world, and it's daring and challenging other people to drink as much as possible. Why? Why does this happen? Why do people have to play these kind of games?
Well, I think one significant factor to look at is that it's a men's game. And men need initiation. I think it's about masculinity. It's about pushing the limits to assert your masculinity. And I think it's about men connecting as men. So it's a ritual. And because we don't have appropriate rituals very often in society for men to do that, this becomes another form, just like people surfing on the top of trains, you know, which is also a craze in many countries, highly dangerous, people get killed. But men like to push themselves to the limits to assert their masculinity, and also it's a way of connecting with other men, getting affirmation from other men, being one of the boys. I think it's partly an expression of that. Unfortunately, the form that we're talking about is a very vulgar, crude, dangerous, form of this expression. But I think also the fact that it's happening through social media shows this trend towards creating community within social media, and I think that's also what it's about.
Do you think one of the reports I read that came out of the UK spoke about bullying, that the one person who responded, who actually died from it, his brother felt that his brother had been bullied into this kind of game?
Well, I think because of the need to belong, number one, and number two, the need to get affirmation from other men that you're accepted as a male, that you are an okay guy, you're one of the boys, that could lead someone to feel coerced or to push themselves beyond their limits if they're carrying shame or doubt about their belonging or their masculinity. So it might not be intentional bullying, it might be bullying by effect because of people being pushed beyond the limits. And I would imagine there could be a certain amount of taunting and preying on vulnerable people. If you can see that someone's self-conscious and unconfident and nerdy, and wants that sense of belonging, I suppose that someone could push them beyond their limits, which could be construed as a bullying kind of thing.
Well, we've seen NekNominations grow. We've seen, I don't know if you've seen any of the videos. Pretty scary. But really what we're focusing on is how we can take something that is, as you described it, as being quite vulgar and could have so many negative connotations to something that's incredibly positive. So in comes Brent Lindeque. I believe that one of his friends in Australia sent him the challenge, because you send the challenge out on the video, and he took the challenge and he decided to, and I've got to say it, South Africanized it, because I think South Africans have a wonderful spirit of helping and reaching out to others. I really do believe that. So he South Africanized this challenge and he turned NekNominations on its head. So Brent, I'm not going to put any words in your mouth, just to start off by saying that I think that to have such a thought and to take something like this and turn it around the way you have it's creative, it's genius, and it's beautiful. That's from the feminine perspective, Brent. It really is. Tell us, when you first got this challenge from your friend in Australia, what was your first response?
I'll take it back even further. When I first heard about the NekNomination craze, because it was all over my social media feeds on Twitter, on Facebook, I'd seen people posting all of these crazy videos online. And my first thought when I saw that was, why would anybody post something online that is that embarrassing and so irresponsible? Many years from now, whether kids are, I don't know, researching you on Google, or a future employer that you might have, if they search your name in, that is what you've left behind, and it can never be removed. You can never take that away. It's on the internet forever. And that was my first thoughts when it came to the NekNomination. When I received my NekNomination, I had two choices. I could either do nothing and just let it sort of pass by and move on and move on with my life, or I could try and do something that would be different and that might change something, even if it was just in my circle of friends. The way that the NekNominations work, and as you've already said, is you need to nominate two other people to do something similar or to outdo what you've just done. And if I do a good deed and I nominate two other people to do the same or to outdo me, then it had to catch on within my circle of friends. I just never knew it would get as big as it did.
So what did you do?
I went out and every Friday, we, as an office, we go and grab a little bit of lunch and we eat together. And I went to my local supermarket and I bought an extra sandwich, a cool drink, and a chocolate. And I found someone who was begging on the side of the road, who I didn't know them from a bar of soap, but I know that they must have been there the whole day begging. And I decided someone that was a little less fortunate than me. And
you handed him the lunch?
Yeah, I gave him the lunch.
And then you looked at the camera and then you challenged two friends to do the same within 24 hours?
Yes, I challenged two friends that I knew would want to do the same, and who have got the same outlook as I do.
So what did you do? Did you just post the video on YouTube? Did you contact your friends? Did you tell them, I've challenged you? How did it work?
I challenged them. I posted it on YouTube, and then that video I put on Facebook as well. I tagged them, and within 24 hours they had already done their good deeds, and I had started something in my circle of friends. My one friend went out and did the same and bought lunch for someone who was less needy. My other friend went and bought a whole bunch of pet food and took it to a pet shelter. In that space of 48 hours, other people who are also South African saw my video. One of the first videos that got sent to me was a gentleman who went and bought a brand new guitar for a beggar at Rosebank Shopping Centre who sits there and begs and plays music for money. And he bought him a brand new guitar so he can continue to make money for years and years and years.
And Brent, when did you first post your video, your YouTube video? When was that?
It was the end of January. It was the last day of January. It was a Friday. YouTube, I never knew this before. That was the first YouTube video that I'd ever uploaded. But YouTube have got it's a sort of accounting system that they freeze. So within the first hour, I had 301 views, and I was happy with that. I was like, that's pretty cool. 301 people are really interested in my video, and that's something nice, that people are liking it and they're watching it. And in the next hour, it had shot up to 6,000. So it was just bizarre. It was crazy how quickly it caught on.
Well, listen, the last time I checked, it was 763,000 people who had viewed your video. And it's not a video of men getting drunk and falling over one another and humiliating one another. It's a video of a human being reacting and connecting with another human being and helping them out. And that's phenomenal. We've just got to make sure that there are more and more and more views. So Brent, it's very powerful. I mean, have people come back with stories? Are you monitoring it, or is this kind of the baby you've given birth to and you're letting it turn into, I don't know, a rampant teenager?
Yeah, I've had a lot of emails, videos. We started a Facebook page where people can post their videos and just share the good that's happening in the entire world. 2 weeks after I made my first video, I made another video just to talk about what had happened in the 2-week period. And we had estimated within the first 2 weeks that over 1 million people had been fed, which is phenomenal. It's just this is the power of social networking. I'm going to be talking to Arthur Goldstuck in just a moment about this phenomena, about how when things go viral, it can be so incredibly positive, or it can be so incredibly negative, and can break things down so quickly. But I'm going to bring you in here, Leonard. I mean, this kind of a scenario where you have a young man, he's being challenged, he turns it around, he puts a video out there, and all of a sudden it's gone viral, and this is what more and more people are doing. But what's this about?
Well, first of all, I've got a quick confession to make, and that is that I thought my son had invented it, which last night he disabused me of that notion, because he did it as part of a religious education program at his school, and they videoed it, and they had the whole school doing it. And so that's an example of how it's really taken off. And actually what this is doing is meeting the real human need, which is for connection, which is for sharing. And at the end of the day, when you give, you are experiencing your power to change other people's lives. And so there's nothing more empowering than empowering others. Knowing that you can change someone's day makes you feel very effective, in a sense, almost godlike. And I think, you know, the genius of this, and I must say I've been incredibly proud of my son for a couple of weeks, but now that I realize that all those feelings need to go to Brent, I can say that I was incredibly proud, and I thought it was absolutely ingenious, because it's really addressing the underlying need that people have to give and to connect. And unfortunately, in a world of Jerry Springer and that kind of thing, that need is often misdirected into the vulgar, crass, extreme kind of behavior. But, if you think of Oprah, if Oprah had to put in a proposal to a network for a show about kindness and about giving, they would have said you're out of your mind. No one would ever think that kind of thing would take off. And yet look at what a phenomenon she was. And so you can see that this is really addressing the deeper human need for connection, for sharing with each other, for building a community based on love and mutual support and respect.
You talk about it being a human need, but let's look at Brent. I mean, is this indicative of the way he was brought up? Do you know what I'm saying? Is it something that is nurtured as you grow up? Are you taught? Is it something that you get from your religion? Is it something that these principles that your parents bring you up with, you must give? You speak about it being a human need.
Yes. Well, I think that, and I'm hearing this in Brent, is someone has the confidence to be authentic and to express what is real for him, as opposed to playing the game and just buying into an image that will get you belonging, which is what the social pressure is for people to conform with us, whether they like it or not. I'm talking about the drinking one. And so I think it was incredibly brave, actually, because in a sense, think of men who are doing this very macho thing, and you say, no, I'm actually going to do something kind. You run the risk of being shamed and being rejected, or ostracized, or being called a wuss or whatever it is. So it takes an incredible amount of confidence in yourself and the authentic expression of your inner truth to take such a step.
And Brent, let me ask you very quickly before we take Arthur, were you brought up, were these principles taught to you from a young age to be generous of spirit, to give, to see the other?
I think definitely. I think that my parents brought me up in the right way to think about people around me and to be aware that there are people that are less fortunate than me. And yeah, my parents are a huge reason why I am the way that I am today, and that must say something about my decision-making process.
Well, if you think of the impact that social media is having on our youth today, it's almost as if the social media can take on, in a certain way, a parenting role, because young people are learning so much from the internet and from the social media. So this is why I'm going to bring in Arthur Goldstuck, MD of WorldwideWorx. Hi, Arthur. So lovely to have you on the show. How's Cape Town?
It's actually looking good. I was expecting bad weather because it's Cape Town. They have weather, but actually it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day to be stuck at the airport.
Oh, Arthur. Well, we're delighted that you're on Conversations with Niki to share your knowledge and your insight. Arthur, I know that you've heard of Brent. I know that you've heard of his NekNominations. But I'm not sure if you know of the numbers, that it was the end of Jan that he first posted his video. We're now sitting near the end of March, the 27th of March. And so far he's had 763,000 views. Let's just talk about the social media and the impact that social media can have on people today.
Those are wonderful numbers, and I have been following Brent, and I've been watching those numbers, so I'm really delighted to see that kind of reaction. But it's not too surprising once the word gets out and once it starts going, perhaps not viral, that's perhaps the wrong word. Just this morning I was giving a talk about the impact of memes, which is ideas and images that go viral on the internet. And NekNominations tried to be a viral phenomenon, and to some extent it was, but Brent actually turned his version of it, changed it to something good, into a meme in its own right. That's become a meme of essentially to say do good on social media. And the power of that, without him probably realizing it, is that it speaks to the nature of sharing on social media. Also this morning I was unpacking a paper written by two Harvard psychologists, Diana Tamir and Jason Mitchell. The title of it actually explains exactly what the thesis concluded with. The title is "Disclosing Information About the Self is Intrinsically Rewarding." Now that's the fundamental basis for the popularity of selfies, as well as to some extent memes, because when you share a meme, you're basically telling the world what resonates for you. So that's at a broader level of content that's perhaps not value-laden, but rather it's disclosure-laden about yourself. And what the research showed is that areas of the brain light up in a way that almost nothing else awakens the brain when you're sharing content about yourself, when you are involved in disclosure online. Now, add to that phenomenon the idea of doing good and helping to change the world, or the concept of fixing the world, which is a deeply ingrained concept of Jewish philosophy, that we're here to fix the world. You add that element to the idea that disclosure about yourself is intrinsically rewarding, and you in fact multiply that effect. So you can imagine, I can imagine Brent's brain truly lighting up, but also the people that then follow up from him. He's giving them an opportunity to light up their brains without them realizing that's what they're doing. That's the essence of social sharing for good via social networks.
And what about, you know, I don't know if, I'm sure you have seen all these, you spoke about the selfies. And at the moment, a lot of women are taking pictures of themselves without makeup on. And this is for breast cancer awareness. And I just find it so interesting, Arthur, how, I'm not sure where it originated. I'm not sure how quickly it's moved through the social media. All I know is someone eventually posted and said, all I'm seeing are so many pictures of women without makeup, you know, is one of the makeup houses on strike. And I found that just quite amusing. But just how people pick up on that. Do you think we ever lose the meaning when things are growing so fast, just to become a part of this tide, this flow? Do we sometimes lose the meaning of the disclosure, or sometimes the extending to help?
There's no question about it, and that's a very good example. It's a great case study as well, because it actually started at the Oscars. I'm not sure if you followed the Oscars, but Kim Novak pitched up at the Oscars without makeup on, and shocked the public rigid, because it's something that actresses absolutely don't do. And she came in for ridicule for it, for attacks in social media, but almost immediately there was a backlash against those attacking her. People saying there's nothing wrong with not wearing makeup. You're entitled to be who you are without having to put a mask on for the world. And that had incredible resonance, and that sparked the beginning of the meme, you could say, of posting a selfie of yourself without makeup. And that was then picked up by someone in Britain and attached to the idea of making donations to charity. And it was incredibly successful. I think they raised £2 million in the first 24 hours or something like that. It was an astonishing story, and a very gratifying story. And I think we're going to see a lot more of those in the coming years. I'd love to see a similar approach taken to high heels, which I think are a crime against women.
I agree with you, Arthur.
And the moment I saw this particular one taking off, I thought, high heels must be next. But there are many of those kind of issues, and Brent highlighted the fact that anyone can take up a cause that's meaningful to themselves, and to put it in the medical terms, that lights up their own brain. But it's a good metaphor for what's happening. When you're lighting up your own brain by doing good and sharing that, you're in fact lighting another candle against the darkness of the world.
You know, Arthur, you're talking about something that sounds and feels authentic. It's almost as if the origins of Brent's NekNominations in South Africa, the selfie without the makeup on, this is a response to something, and there's a great authenticity attached to that. I suppose what we have to be wary of, especially when it comes to social media, is when marketers and advertisers get their hands on something like this, and then they take something that is so pure and that which does light up the brain and which spreads so fast and can do so good, and commercialize it.
Yes and no, because all of these are events and developments that marketers can in fact learn from.
Okay.
And that is part of my message in the talk I gave this morning, is that marketers can in fact learn from this, but they've got to learn from it. And I'm going to quote a gentleman by the name of Dave Hawley, who writes for adotis.com, and they looked at the range of studies on the impact of sharing, and he said that the secret is this: if you're going to build trust, loyalty, and advocacy through social media, we must do so outside the bounds of the traditional advertising relationship. Stop using social media to try to sell your product. Try to help people achieve personal satisfaction through your brand experiences, and the sales will come. In other words, give people a positive experience of the brand rather than try to hijack a trend or a meme and try to go viral. Rather focus on the customers themselves, making them feel so good about the brand that they want to share it themselves, rather than you telling them, if you share this, you'll stand in line to win a prize or something.
Must be very interesting world today for marketers, because it's there for the learning and there for the taking, really. When, as you say, I mean, people are disclosing so much about themselves. We started off talking about the NekNominations, the negative impact the original NekNominations was having, and that I had read an article that the BBC social media page said that videos of the internet drinking game would be discontinued. What happens in terms of that, Arthur, in terms of legally closing down websites or messages that are going across, that are spreading very quickly, but the message isn't a positive one?
Well, the BBC themselves are fully entitled to not airing content that they don't feel deserves to be aired. So that's not censorship, that's quality control. And I think it's a great example of the kind of quality control that we should be seeing in the media. The flip side of that is the many publications, including a large number of very prominent ones in South Africa. And there I'm talking about highly credible publications. I'll name names. It includes Daily Maverick, My Broadband, and News 24. The last one of which is hosts my column. The second one I have a very, very good relationship with, and the first one, Daily Maverick, I've got the greatest respect for. But there's one area where they all fall down in the same way, is that their comment sections are completely unmoderated, and they play host to the most appalling verbal abuse that you can imagine from every perspective: racism, sexism, etc., personal attacks. And they really have a duty to moderate that content, because it's part of their publication. They wouldn't allow that if they were a print publication with a letters page. They wouldn't allow that to appear in the name of freedom of speech. But they're allowing it on their sites for one simple reason: because it generates traffic. So I think that is a kind of approach that we should be seeing more often from the media, rather than bleating about freedom of expression.
Yeah, I must agree with you. I mean, I often don't read the comments simply because I find them so offensive. I don't find they stimulate very interesting debate. I just find a lot of it offensive, so I just move on.
It's offensive and depressing to see how the average person is willing to express themselves in public.
Well, we're finding our way. I mean, with this technology that we have at our fingertips, social media, anyone being able to post anything they like, we just, I suppose it's finding our way in a forest, and hopefully we'll get to the other side unharmed. But Arthur, I thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show with your insights, and it's been great. Thank you.
Thanks. It was a privilege to be on with the team that you have on your show today.
Thank you, Arthur. Take care. That's Arthur Goldstuck, MD of WorldwideWorx. So you see, Brent, I mean, someone like Arthur is, I mean, he's monitoring you closely. He's going to be talking about you and writing articles about you and the phenomena that you have created. I mean, how does that feel?
It feels pretty amazing. The one thing that I continue to tell people when they bring it up that I've made such a difference is that me giving someone lunch wasn't my defining moment. My defining moment comes now with this platform that I had been given, with 760,000 views on my YouTube, with the interest that has been shown on the Facebook site, the Twitter followers that I've picked up. What do I do now with all of that? And the only direction that I can take is to continue to do good and to do better with that platform. I've already registered a foundation. I'm not calling it a charity because I'm not working with money at all. But what I realized through the Change One Thing process is that the average South African has no idea what charities need, and some charities don't need a lot. I call it micro activism on a macro level, because there's some charities that just need a couple of old books for the kids to read. And when you're doing your spring cleaning, what do you do with that stuff?
People are looking. People are looking for it.
So the website that we're forming is a space for charities. I call it a dating site for charities, because charities will be able to list their needs, and individuals will be able to fulfill those and to help them out.
Okay, listen, Brent, we're going to put you on hold just for a moment. We will be back, and we're going to be continuing with this fascinating discussion. Stay with us.
Hi, my name is S.V. Prinsloo, and I'm the HOD of IT Integration at Bridwin Preparatory School in Melrose. We started using study apps about 6 months ago and have seen astonishing results. We were quite amazed to see how quickly the kids have been able to use study apps and the benefits it has shown with regards to reinforcing what they've already learned inside the classroom. I would highly recommend study apps for any school.
Studyapps.co.za. Well, welcome back, and if you have just tuned in, thanks for tuning in. I'm Niki Seberini. This is Conversations with Niki, where you are entertained, informed and inspired. Welcoming our syndication partner listeners, Elders FM, Chai FM, Kawi FM, West Coast FM, MC 90.3 FM in Plettenberg Bay, Knysna FM, Wild Coast FM and Bay FM. And just a reminder to visit my website, www.conversationswithniki, that's one word, Niki is spelled Niki.co.za. All the shows are put onto that website. So if there's a show that you've missed in the past, or you want to see what shows we've done on Conversations with Niki, do visit the website. All the shows have been podcast there, and you can also contact me via that website. You can follow me on Twitter at Seberini, my surname Seberini. We're having such a relevant and such an interesting discussion. We're talking about social media, we're talking about the power of social media, and we're talking about giving of yourself, the connectedness. I have Leonard Carr, clinical psychologist, in the studio, and Leonard was talking about this human need, this need to give and this need to connect. And what started the discussion was the NekNominations, how a young South African man by the name of Brent Lindeque decided to take this concept of drinking and challenging others to rather giving and giving of yourself, and then challenging others to do the same. Arthur Goldstuck was also commenting on social media and the impact that it's having on our world today, and so we're continuing with that discussion. Brent was just talking about a website that he's opened, and we're going to get back to that in a moment, Brent, but I just want to bring Leonard in here at this point, because we were talking about these selfies that people are taking, these women are taking without makeup, and it was quite interesting how Arthur said that, you know, it goes back to the Oscars when someone arrived with no makeup on and it started a debate. There was a lot of criticism and it was turned around. What are your thoughts on the fact that if you go onto Facebook, there are just hundreds of women who have taken pictures of themselves without makeup on?
Every human being has a unique spark, a unique potential, what they were born to contribute to the world. And our deepest need is for that to be recognized. Our deepest pain is for that to be invisible. That's why loneliness, invisibility, being dissed, ignored, is so incredibly painful and humiliating for a person, and being seen and heard and felt is so enlivening. So we all have a need to show our authentic selves, to be unmasked. However, most people, because of criticism and experiences growing up, especially with a schooling system and critical parents and all of that, carry a profound level of shame. And that shame makes us want to put on makeup in our own ways. Everybody has a gig, has their own way of hiding their authentic self, and at the same time trying to get the connection and the approval and the belonging that the authentic self would get them. So they traffic in this kind of false self. And that's what the drinking game is about. It's about showing your gig to everybody else to try and get the approval, the belonging, the recognition from others. And actually, what I was saying about this giving of kindness is the unmasking. It's taking off your makeup. It's showing your soft, vulnerable, human side, your authentic self, opening yourself to others, and creating real community, which is actually the expression of the need to be seen, to be felt, and to connect with the authenticity in others.
Brent, thank you for that, Leonard. Brent, you were talking about having this sense of responsibility, having all of these people watching your video, tweeting, following you, and you wanted to then take it further, and hence the birth of your website, the dating site for charities, which I love that whole concept. But let me ask you this something, Brent, and it may be a difficult question to answer. How did it affect the way you saw yourself? In other words, when you did it, and I spoke about authenticity with Arthur, you authentically and purely responded in this way. You wanted to give. You've seen this wave, this support, so many people wanting to do the same. There is a sense of responsibility to continue on this path because you've started something great. Is there a point when it becomes about you still proving yourself? I don't know if I'm putting it in the right words.
I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
And I'll say that I'm a young entrepreneur. I've owned my own business for almost 5 years. And that is what I believed was where I should be. A businessman working in the activation space. And this process has taught me that I'm more than that. And my need or the fulfillment that I got from giving back is so much bigger than me. I do plan to continue and not to broadcast and for it to be out on YouTube videos and such and so on. But my plan is to continue to do good things in the world. In July, just by what the universe has given me, I'm going to be climbing Kilimanjaro to raise funds for a charity down in the south of Johannesburg.
Great.
And that's something that I would have never even have thought of before this experience happened. So for me, it has changed me, but for the better. And I want to continue to do great things and to do better within my community. And if that inspires other people to do the same, well, then that's the cherry on top for me. Okay.
So it's broadened your horizons. It really has changed the way you see the world, and more importantly, the way you see yourself.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
That, I suppose, is a lesson in life, Leonard. With anything, unless you do something and you experience the transition for yourself, it's just a theory, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that until something is embodied in action, number one, it doesn't feel real to you. And until you see the effects that it has on the world, it doesn't become real to the world.
We have someone else who was inspired by Brent, and that's Yakeen Sadiq. He's on the line. He's from Ragstar Media. Yakeen, hi. Thanks also for joining us today.
How's it? Nice to almost meet you guys.
Nice to almost meet you too. Listen, Yakeen, I was watching your video. I think one of the things that I really enjoy about these Nek nomination videos is just watching everyone and hearing what they have to say, and the music, the whole production. I mean, who put this production together for you?
Ragstar Media. That's actually what we do.
Okay.
So we do videos for small to medium enterprises that don't really have budgets for big productions. So what happened was Robbie, my partner who couldn't join us today, he saw Brent's video, and he came and told me about it, and then we came up with how we were going to do it, and you know, the most awesome things that you could ever create always happen in just a spark of inspiration, which is why it got done so quickly. And Robbie owns New World Immigration, I own the 7 Center Training, and we both own Ragstar Media, so that's how our relationship works. And we went out, and we went to a charity that we support, and the whole idea behind what we did was, we saw Brent's video. By the way, Brent, you're a legend.
Did you hear that, Brent?
Thanks, bud.
Right, seriously been trying to get you on the phone, admittedly not enough, but just really wanted to thank you for what you did, because the spin-off of what you did didn't just inspire us, it inspired so many people, and there are talks of millions of rands that have already been raised just because of your initial video. So thank you very much for affording everyone that kind of opportunity. What we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it slightly different was we didn't want to help just one person. We wanted to see how could we help more people. And we fed 90 kids. And we NekNominated another company to do the same, because a company's reach versus one man's reach is very, very different. So that's what we wanted to do. And, I've been listening to a little bit of what you guys were chatting about earlier, and it just grew and grew. And yes, we stopped reading comments as well, because you have to have haters. I mean,
there are going to be people who will criticize, yeah.
So we stopped reading it. It's just like the same reason why I don't watch or listen to the news. It's because it's mostly bad news. You get what you focus on, and if people want to focus on negative, then that's what they're going to get. But we did this for all the people that were truly inspired by doing it. And the other organizations that got involved, they didn't just do stuff that was once off. They're continuing to do things, and we're continuing to work with them. So it was a lot of fun. It grew like crazy. Also, like Brett, we didn't have any expectation. We just wanted the one person that we NekNominated to go ahead and fulfill that. And the next day we had like 500 plus views.
Yeah.
It sticks. It freezes on 500, and so we were doing high fives. We were pretty excited. And the next day we had 20,000 views, and we're like, oh, okay. And a few companies started phoning us and saying, all right, so what's your strategy? We're like, what? We felt a bit unprepared, but we didn't prepare for a strategy or this wasn't a marketing stint. This was to get out there to inspire other people to do what they can do.
Well, let me just, because I know the video, but for those listening, so the two of you went off. You went to a fast food chain, which you then landed up challenging. You bought a whole lot of chicken, and you went off to this home in Joe Slovo Park in Cape Town.
It's a school, yeah.
It's a school. And so there you are, you and your partner, you're busy unpacking chicken, and you're putting it on the plates, and you talking to them, and you entertaining the kids, and then they eat away, and they're happy. And for them, they're always going to remember the one day these two crazy guys walked through the door and bought them the best lunch they've ever had. And and then you look at the camera and you talk and you say, all right, and you say to the fast food chain, we challenge you. And the fast food chain responded immediately saying, we'll get back to you, we're working on something. And what did they then do? They then went into a home that was looking after disabled children, that at 4 o'clock in the morning, the father and the children get in the car and they collect all of these disabled children and they take them to their home for the day. And this company went in and they redecorated and they did a whole lot of things. And that was because, if we go all the way back, because Brent Lindeque decided to do something different with NekNominations, and just way down the line, these young disabled children in Alexander, just outside Joburg, have been affected, and how many others? Because we're talking, Yakeen, this is just your and Robbie's story. There have been so many stories. I know that Joost van der Westhuizen has done so much, and so many corporates and so many people have just latched onto it. So it's phenomenal. It's something that we need to talk about, and we really need to get more and more people into this wonderful space that you spoke about, Brent, a little bit earlier. But Yakeen, I have to ask you this question. When you stood there and when you gave these the chicken to these children, how did you feel? Describe that feeling to me.
Well, it's quite simple. It is the most awesome feeling you can receive, is the feeling of receiving gratitude. Every single human has equal potential to be evil or good, and we make that choice all the time. I'll give you an example. We did the NekNomination to the fast food chain, and one of their competitors actually came up a few days earlier and said, hey, thank you, Yakeen and Robbie. And for a moment, we thought, yes, these guys are cheeky, eh? And that was I would say, the negative side of our minds and our brains. And then, the good side came in and said, why is it competition? Look at the people, even if they are being cheeky, look at what's happening. They're giving in order to compete. So the intention behind Brent's video and our video is being fulfilled. So we very quickly forgot about it and stopped reading negative comments which were like 1% of everything we received. Most people absolutely loved it, and it's because of that exact feeling.
Okay, so
what is attractive and appealing to people is that feeling, the feeling that you're asking me about. How do you feel when somebody looks at you with no reservation and says, "Thank you"? That's what's appealing about this.
Okay, so Leonard, I'm going to ask you here, because we talk about the giving. I mean, if we even talk about it in terms of religion, because there are religions that say you've got to give a certain percentage of what you earn to a charity, to whatever, and there are different degrees of giving, aren't there? So there's a type of a giving where it's an obvious giving. You're giving to someone and you're seeing the instant response, you're seeing and you're receiving, and that's you're getting this instant gratification there and then. And there's other types of giving. Do we monitor how we give? Is it important how we give, and is it important how we feel around the giving?
Well, first of all, giving is common to, I think, all religions. And what makes giving profound is that in the physical world that we live in, giving appears to cause the loss of something. But actually what we're hearing is it's quite the opposite. And this competition that we're hearing about comes from another deep human need, which is called envy. And envy is what makes us compare ourselves to others and want what other people have. So there's a spiritual principle that you should stick around the people who represent the correct values so that you'll envy the correct things. And here you can see how a potentially negative quality is being turned into a very leveraged to be a very spiritual quality by people envying and competing for each other's giving. And that is really our challenge in all religions. It's transmuting potentially negative identifications with the physical world. You know, people wanting acquisition and people wanting success and all the things that seem to appear important in the physical world, and transmuting that desire to create something bigger, something more important, which is spiritual values, which is building the world, healing the world, making the invisible visible, really bringing out that, let's call it, that divine spark in every human being. And this is really what this phenomenon is creating. And how you do it doesn't really matter, because you can see that a very small act of kindness can change someone's day. I mean, think of someone on their way to commit suicide, and they're an invisible person, and one person acknowledges them. That can change their mind. We don't even know the effect of a tiny act of kindness. And so, and we also don't know the effect that will even have on the next generation, because you save one person, you know, they're going to put that goodness into the world. This is really viral, you know, in a much bigger sense than what we can measure or perceive with our limited perception.
It's so overwhelming when one looks at the world today, with so many people who are starving, so many people who are suffering, the war, the have-nots. So I think that so many people are stuck in that, well, there's nothing I can do. It's a huge tide. I can't swim against this tide, which is perhaps why this is so appealing. Absolutely.
I would say the most destructive belief that any human being can have is the belief that I can't make a difference. And what this shows is that every single person within their sphere of influence, within their resources and capacities, has the power to make a difference.
Brent, I'm going to bring you in there. Are you've been listening?
Sorry, just repeat that. The line was a bit
Leonard was just saying that, because I was saying I think a lot of people are stuck in this whole concept of, it's so huge, the problems are so enormous that I can't possibly make a difference. I think it's, if we're driving in the street and we see rubbish on the side of the road, you know, well, I'm not going to go and pick it up because tomorrow there'll just be more. Or if I give a meal to this person, tomorrow they're going to be hungry again, or there are 100 others. It's not going to make an impact. So I'm not going to do anything. And Leonard was saying it's so important for every person to realize that they can make a difference. Each person has the ability to make a difference. So that's why I wanted to bring you in here. Were you stuck before you turned the NekNominations around? What was your headspace? Were you kind of in the headspace of, it's huge, you know, there's not much I can do in this world?
No, I wasn't in that headspace. I always have been. I'm incredibly optimistic, and I'm always the guy that believes that that the glass is half full. And one of the biggest messages that I put at the end of the video is change one thing, change everything.
Yes.
Because you can. It takes one tiny little change. It's the butterfly effect. You change one thing, and literally someone's whole life has changed. That meal that I gave that one guy, that could have given him a full stomach, and he wouldn't have to worry about buying food for the next couple of hours or such. And then he could have used that time and energy, I don't know, to go look for a job or to change his life in some other way. So one small act of a good deed has the power and the ability and the knock-on effect to change something completely.
Are your parents proud of you?
Incredibly,
hey?
incredibly. And the one thing that has also changed within my family is, family around the world that have all sort of been following stuff and sending me stuff from their parts of the world, is that they have changed their mindset. My mom told me that she drives past the same people every day, and the same people are there at beggars, and she's always thought to herself, she sees them every day, and they're waking up, starting their day while she's going to work, and she can see that they sleep on the side of the road, and she's never done anything about it until now. Now, after my acts of whatever I did, if she has leftovers from the night before, or sometimes she'll make them dinner and drop that off for them in the morning, because she knows that it'll make a difference. You also spoke about negative comments and the negative stuff that has come about this. One of the things, and I'll bring it up here because it's one of the constants that people have said to me, is that if you feed someone on the side of the road, that keeps them on the side of the road. And the only thing that I have said to people that have, and it's media, it's journalists that have said that to me, and the same thing I say to each and every one of them is, we've forgotten to see them. They've been there for years and years and years and years. Feeding someone is not going to keep them there, it's going to be helping them.
It's giving them dignity. You were going to say something, Leonard?
I want to put another spin on the glass is half empty and the glass is half full. I think that optimism is taking responsibility, and pessimism is merely an alibi for abdicating your responsibility. So optimists are people who own the responsibility for changing their world, and by extension the world, and pessimists are people who want to opt out of that responsibility.
I did a show a while ago about a young girl, Brent, who goes onto the streets of Joburg and she washes homeless people's feet. And she described, yeah, it was amazing, and she described taking these buckets of warm soapy water and putting the homeless people's feet in the water, and the expression on their face, and describing and telling us what they said. And can you imagine not having have felt human contact, a kind feeling for however long, and feeling warm, clean, lovely smelling water?
It's beautiful.
It is.
And that small act of kindness does have the ability to change that person.
Yeah.
And you're saying washing someone's feet, that could give them that feeling inside to get up and do something different with their life. It has the ability to change someone else's outlook.
Well, I must say that quite a few people have been in touch, because she just spoke about how when she would talk to them, how they hated feeling like they were invisible. They hated it when people looked through them. I mean, you described that a little bit earlier. And so many people got in touch after the show and said, I've started to greet people. I'm not filled with fear. I start to greet people on the side of the road, and it's changed everything. It's changed their level of stress. It's changed the relationship with the people on the road. And it's all that. It's all that. It's fantastic. So I'm going to ask you, Yakeen, have you got any comments based on what you've been listening to?
Yeah, just spin off of everything that I heard. The most concise way I could explain this is, I think that everyone's perception is just 1 degree off. And when I say everyone, I'm just generalizing and speaking about the masses. I use the word sacrifice as an example, which is something I teach at my academy. And I say everyone looks at sacrifice and they look at it as loss, when that is, from my perspective, that's completely wrong. Because if you look at sacrifice, it is giving up something of lower value to accept something else of higher value, something that you choose. It is a choice. And when we look at, just off Leonard's envy. You know, people, you know, we do it in such small ways because of the perception that's just 1 degree off. We look at a car that we like and we say, there's my car, you know, and that inspires envy and jealousy, it's sort of like you want that specific car, you want to take it away from that person without even knowing you're saying it, that's what you're saying. But the law of abundance states, you know, and in every religion you'd find the same thing. It says, when we look after everyone and when we want for everyone and when we're grateful for everyone, then we all will be exactly the same and we will receive exactly the same. So, you know, there are these things that we already know, but conscious choices that we already make through a different perception. I feel like lots of people would hate me for saying this, but we're so negative. If you listen to conversations, people are just complaining left, right, and center, complaining. And you ask one person, so what are you doing about it? And you will hear silence. You will hear silence. So now a couple of people, and you'd find that I've never met Brent before, but I knew that he's a positive person by nature. You can see that. You can sense that. And the people that are negative versus the people that are positive are just 1 degree, one slight adjustment in their perception, and they'll be able to understand and see, okay, I can make a difference. And you know what? If I don't have money to give somebody right now, I can give out a few compliments. You know why? Because what I receive back in return is going to fuel me for the rest of the day. But people are doing it with the wrong intention. They're giving to receive. If you're doing it with the wrong intention, it doesn't really work out. If you give with the intention of giving, the feeling that you get, that's what you want to sustain.
Lovely, so well put. Yakeen, I'm going to say goodbye at this point. You've been fantastic. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and just to you and Robbie for the great work that you've done. It's almost like NekNominations is made up of a whole lot of branches. You've taken the one branch, and it's growing beautifully. So thanks so much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for everything.
Thanks for having us. Much gratitude from Robbie and myself. We continue to do stuff all the time. It's actually funny. I really want to mention this, but we did another Nek nomination, and we don't know why it didn't catch on. But it was at the same school, and the same provider sponsored a TV, and another provider got on board and did stationery for the whole school.
Wow!
And that was amazing.
That is
It
great.
was amazing. It really was. So if anyone's listening, go and check out the vid, because we don't know why. Not many people have seen it.
Well, that's it. We should have asked Arthur Goldstuck that question. But thanks, Yakeen. Thanks so much for your time. It's been great. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
So much.
Bye. So, Brent, I mean, that's very interesting. Do you think this has do you think because it spreads so fast and because it happens so quickly, it can die out quickly? So I'm asking you the question. You started this at the end of January. It gained momentum very quickly. Everyone was doing fantastic things. Do you think it's going to die out? Do you think the selfies, the no makeup selfies is the next thing?
It has already. The nomination, and I'll continue to call it Nek nomination because that's what it stemmed from. It never had a long shelf life. It was something that went viral. It happened on the internet. It was a fad that came and went. And the only way to capitalize on that is to watch it evolve. And it did. It evolved by itself into the selfies, which selfies for cancer awareness, which is fantastic. But that'll only be here for another, I would say, two or 3 weeks, and then that will move on as well. The nature of things that go viral on social media is that they never last long. It always moves on. Once it's gone viral, it's done its deed, and it'll then land up in what happened when you look back, what happened in the year. For us, like I said earlier on in the show, we've realized that there's a need in South Africa from this, that individuals don't know where to go to give stuff, and there are charities that are in need of small things.
So give us the website address very quickly, because we've run out of time.
Perfect. Website is not live yet. We're still working on it, but it's changeonething.co.za.
Change One Thing. Will you let us know when it's happening, please?
Yes, no problem. I'll tweet you.
Brent, you are fantastic. You are wonderful. You have done such good, and we loved having you on the show, and thank you so much.
It was lovely being part of the show.
Thank
you very much.
Brent Lindeque. And Leonard, as always, your insight and what you bring to the conversation is just fascinating. So thanks, Leonard. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to having you on the show again. And I look forward to you tuning in again. Hope you found it interesting. I did. Until next week, from me, Niki Seberini. Goodbye.
Hi, my name is Prinsloo, and I'm the HOD of IT Integration at Brent Preparatory School in Melrose. We started using study apps about 6 months ago and have seen astonishing results. We were quite amazed to see how quickly the kids have been able to use study apps and the benefits it has shown with regards to reinforcing what they've already learned inside the classroom. I would highly recommend study apps for any school.
Studyapps.co.za. Conversations with Niki was brought to you by Studyapps.co.za, South Africa's leading education app for tablets.